Hello everyone, and welcome to Art Chat. I'm Margie Lee, and today we're in Oakmont talking with artisan Roger Olson. Welcome, Roger.
Well, thank you, Margie. I'm glad you're here.
Roger, you do the most interesting objects and the most detailed objects. And we have one in front of us right here. First of all, tell me what we're looking at. What is this? I feel like I've seen it in the movies somewhere.
Yes, if you recall the Da Vinci Code, they had to solve some puzzles. This actually goes back to Roman times when they would transmit messages back and forth. And you couldn't get inside to see the message unless you got the codes all perfectly lined up. And that thing, no way to get inside.
Unless you know the code.
So when I saw the movie, I decided, hey, I've got to have one of these. And I sketched it out on a napkin and then started machining. And everything you see here started out as a solid block of brass, or in this case, a solid block of stainless steel. So all of these pieces were made from a solid block of material.
That's just amazing. Now, how long did it take? And we should tell people this is called a cryptex.
Quicktags, a Vinci Quicktags.
And how long did it take you to make this?
Well, the first one probably took me, a couple of months. But everything's done by hand on a manual lathe here, with the exception of the engraving. I had access to a CNC machine, and these little rings were done
On that.
and engraved.
Engraved.
When I retired, I started going to school full time, taking machine shop.
And before you retired, you were doing what?
Woodworking.
Woodworking.
This is metalworking.
Okay.
Never done any.
Okay.
And so I learned all the basics, and in 6 years I graduated to using the CNC, the computer stuff, which
Okay.
was really quite fun. And you'll see in next project we talk about a lot of that was done using the computer.
Now, what are we looking at, first of all? What is
Okay.
this?
What you're looking at is a 1/16 scale model of the very first internal combustion engine. It was put on display in 1867 at the Paris show, World's Fair. And it ran on hydrogen. And if you note, one of the unique thing about it is the piston would fire from down below and come up, but you don't see anything happening. It's the weight of the piston and the cooling of the cylinder that generates the power.
Interesting.
And down here is the carburetor, which is really quite complex. It's a carburetor and exhaust. You control the speed of the engine by how fast you let the exhaust out.
Fascinating. And you have fabricated every little part, and here we see the parts.
Well,
Correct?
fabricated, these little tiny black things there look like pieces of dirt. They're actually little socket head cap screws. I was able to buy those. So, but everything else was made individually by hand. And going to this scale, everything's to 1/1000th of an inch.
It's amazing.
It has to be precise. And so I made 3 parts of each, hoping that I could get enough good parts for one machine to go to that. And I was able to do that. And so here you can see kind of a collection of the different parts.
And
that,
how long did it take you to make this?
I'm going to say that it took me about 4 months in the school machine shop.
And you started with your own drawing. I mean, you did the drawing.
I had a very rough 2D drawing that I redrew in 3 dimension, and redrew all the parts in 3 dimension, and I could actually assemble the thing in 3 dimension and see it run on the computer. Then I knew everything was fitting, and then I could start making my parts.
Was it pretty fascinating when you actually got it together and it really did work?
Oh, man. Well, nothing works right the first time. It takes a lot of fine tuning to get those gears to mesh where they're supposed to and get all the parts to go right. I'm still going to try to set this thing up to run on compressed air. I'm not sure that it will do it. The original engine stood 7 feet tall, generated a half a horsepower. It's on display in the Smithsonian Institute. But as far as I know, this is the only one that's ever been made at this scale.
At this scale, well, it's really intriguing. And again, the attention to detail is amazing. We're going to look now at 2 other objects.
Okay.
And before we go there, I do want to mention that both of these are in the exhibition Ageless Creativity. Now we're going to look at other objects that you've made that are there as well. So
Sounds good to me.
let's go over there.
This is a scale model of a whaling boat. These are the rowboats that were used when the sailors actually went out to harpoon the whales. And here you can see harpoons here. And the rest of this is all paraphernalia that they would carry in the boat when they went out. There were over 50,000 of these whale boats made between 1820 and say 1915. Only 7 of them still remain.
Amazing.
But this model is taken from a set of museum plans. It's accurately detailed. It's all made from tiny wooden strips. There's not a solid block of wood in there.
Oh, I can see the strips. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you've made all of these details.
All the oars, the harpoons, the paddles, the water casks. This is a drag bucket right here that once they got the whale underway, they throw the drag bucket out to slow the whale down. And the way that the harpoon is actually connected to the main rope. It goes up through the front, through a pulley, and it comes all the way back to this deadhead. It wraps around so that they can put resistance on the rope. But in the early stages, that rope is just flying out of this barrel as the whale goes. And if you run out of rope in that barrel, it's connected to this barrel. And so all of that goes out.
So that's actually little tiny rope.
Yes.
Or twine, I guess,
Well, it's scale rope,
scale
actually.
rope, okay.
Unfortunately, I could buy that. The sail would be used when they were sailing out to where the whales were or to assist them in getting back to the boat. However, most of the time, the boat would be under oar power. These are the long oars that would be used. This oar in the back is actually the steering oar when they're under rowing power. Now, if they're under sail, they use the rudder and tiller. Right back here, you will see that there's a little drawer and it contains a compass.
Oh, I see it. That's amazing. So the attention to detail here is absolutely accurate.
It's 100% accurate. You can actually raise and lower this sail, and normally it would be lowered and the sail wrapped around the mast, and it would be carried in the base of the boat.
My gosh. How long did it take you to make this, Roger?
This probably about 3 months.
Well, we have right next to it another model, which is even more intricate. Tell us, first of all, what we're looking at.
This is a scale model of the Bluenose fishing/racing schooner. It was built in 1921 for both fishing and racing. As a racing boat, It went totally undefeated for 19 years. It's currently featured on 3 Canadian stamps, and it's featured on the back of the Canadian dime. And I should have brought these so you could see it. But this one took me 7 months to build. Every piece in here is a tiny, well, you can look at the deck and see how narrow those strips are.
Yes.
The hull is the same way. Everything is made from a narrow strip of wood, just like they would have built the original.
That's amazing. Talk to us about these very interesting silhouettes of sails.
These are silhouettes of the sails that the boat would have. I chose not to use cloth or paper, but make them transparent so you can see the rigging. Now, I've never seen another model use this technique for displaying sails. Now, if you look at the intricate nature of all these pulleys and blocks and tackles, you can raise and lower these sails. Everything in the rigging is 100% workable.
That's amazing, Roger.
The black lines are your running lines or standing rigging.
Okay.
That stays with the boat permanently. The light colored lines are what used to raise and lower the sails and trim and adjust while you're underway.
And you have tiny little details in here, I see.
Yes, the little rowboats were used when fishing. They'd take out large nets and put them in a circle around a big school of mackerel. And then they'd pull the nets in and gather the fish. And they'd be stored and salted in barrels.
Amazing. And you said it took how long to make this?
7 months.
7 months. It's really spectacular. And I want to point out that both of these are on another spectacular object. You made this table.
Yes, yes.
Tell us about the table. What kind of wood?
I found this piece, it's a crotch out of a cherry tree. And it'd been sitting in a barn for about 50 years. And I found it in a sawmill in East Tennessee. I bought it for, I think, $50. And just totally refinished it. I had to plane it down, sand it, and get it smooth. I left the bark and texture on it just to show what the tree actually looked like. And I made the stand. My wife, I wanted to make a coffee table. She wanted a sofa table. No compromise.
So you got the sofa table.
It's a sofa table. And it's made out of cherry and mahogany. And one of the neat things about cherry is that it ages and darkens.
Oh.
In fact, if you took a piece of white cherry and set it out in the sun and put a board across it, after 4 hours, you could see the impression of that board. The board would be sunburned.
I didn't realize that.
And so that's why all the real old cherry pieces are
That's
dark.
interesting.
Now this piece right here that I've got as the base of the Bluenose, it was the outside of a piece of a mahogany tree. And I knocked all the bark off, and it just had a beautiful grain, and it simulates the water very nicely.
It's just really, it's really beautiful. I want to thank you for sharing this with us today. I want to invite everybody watching, if you'd like to see this up close and personal, all of these objects will be in the Ageless Creativity exhibition that is opening February 3rd in the Davis Art Center in downtown Fort Myers, sponsored by Fine Mart Bank, so we want to give them a shout out.
And all of these items will be for sale in that art show.
Everyone, really?
Everyone.
Well, there's your opportunity, Shell Point. So make sure you come to the exhibition, see all the wonderful objects, and thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Margie.